Why anger against a spouse creates only negativity in your marriage. Hi friends, welcome to Marriage Realities, a comprehensive relationship channel. Today's video is all about what anger does to your marriage. Most of you spurt out in anger for the most innocuous reasons when you interact with your spouse, don't you? You feel being angry against your spouse is nothing wrong. You also feel that you have every right to display your anger when your spouse does not act in a way you like. When you have work-related tension, you're angry with your spouse. When you're in your mood swings, you're angry with your spouse. When things do not happen according to your desire, you're angry with your spouse. Can you see how you're angry with your spouse for something he or she is not responsible for? When you utter unthinkingly harsh words with the deliberate intention of degrading your spouse, it shows you in a very negative light. You do not know that your anger makes your spouse wonder what he or she had done to experience such a harsh display of anger from you. When you spill forth hurting words against your spouse with venomous force, it creates massive negative impact in your relationship. It is because the bitter words you utter against your spouse can also make your relationship bitter. The effect of your marriage in your relationship might not be instant and immediate, but it definitely has a snowballing effect. Persistent anger and continuous verbal abuse from you make your spouse drift apart from you. It is sad that you're making your marriage a failure by giving in to your angry temperament. It is also sad that you never understand that your persistent anger has serious repercussions in your marriage. Shall we see the harmful impact of your anger in your relationship? The number one harmful impact of your anger in your relationship is you're making your children very unhappy. When you fight with your spouse, you forget there are silent spectators to your ugly display of temperament. Your children watch you with horror when you fight with your spouse as if he or she was your enemy. Your children are hurt by the vulgar and abusive words you use against their parent. Your anger makes your children dislike being at home as you make the atmosphere at home very heated and oppressive. Your continuous display of anger against your spouse makes your children take sides. The unreasonable anger against your spouse makes your children withdraw away from you. And the most negative aspect when you're angry with your spouse under the full view of your children is they develop various complexities. Your children lose their confidence. They become withdrawn and taciturn. Your children stop interacting with you. Your children are always great imitators and they imitate your behavior with gusto without knowing its repercussions. If you persistently show your anger against your spouse, your children lose trust in the institution of marriage. So, never ever display your anger before your children. Do not abuse your spouse before your children. They hate you for this. The number two harmful impact of your anger in your relationship is you lose the love of your spouse. Bitter and harsh words have devastating impact in your marriage. Your continuous show of anger makes your relationship with your spouse loveless and unhappy. Your incessant words of abuse and harshness makes your spouse feel that you no longer love him or her. When your spouse is time and again a target of your anger, he or she stores resentment and bitterness against you. This feeling slowly snowballs into a definite marriage wrecker. You just cannot treat your spouse as a dustbin to throw in all your anger. And you cannot expect your spouse to understand your anger from your angle. Occasional spurt of anger from you is quite natural and it is easily forgotten and forgiven by your spouse. But constant use of demeaning words makes your spouse lose his or her love for you. The number three harmful impact of anger in your relationship is you lose the respect of your spouse. Mutual respect is very important for your marriage to survive and stabilize. When there is no respect in your marriage, your relationship fast races towards its inevitable failure. When you thrust all your stress and tension on your spouse and scream profanities at him or her, he or she will lose respect for you. Your spouse might initially feel bewildered about the reason behind your anger and might try to reason with you. How long do you think your spouse will tolerate your unreasonable anger? Not for long. Your spouse gradually becomes contemptuous and disapproving about your unwarranted anger. Your spouse drifts away from you because he or she is unable to tolerate your angry words and angry display of temper. Spouse decides that you are not worthy of his or her attention, as he or she feels completely put off by your immature and volatile behavior. The number 4 harmful impact of your anger in your relationship is you become lonely and lost. How can there be any happiness in your marriage when you display anger against your spouse for almost everything? Consistent anger makes your spouse drift away from you. The spouse no longer wants to interact with you. The spouse becomes unsupportive and distant from you. When you fought bitterly with your spouse, you never knew that he or she would retaliate by becoming distant from you. You realize rather lately that your anger has destroyed your relationship with your spouse. You now spend lonely hours at home without your spouse being supportive, interactive, or protective towards you. The number 5 negative impact of anger in your relationship is you end your marriage. When you display your anger regularly, you do not understand that you're shaking the very foundation of your marriage. Spouse withdraws away from you in contempt and resentment as he or she has had enough of abuse from you. How long do you think your marriage can survive on thin ice of lost love? Your relationship crumbles under the pressure of your anger, and you can literally feel that the days of your marriage is numbered. It is really sad that you're the reason behind your failed marriage just because you could not control your anger. Your superficial anger will always be forgiven by your spouse, as he or she knows that it is a momentary display of irritability due to the external pressures you face in your life. But intolerable anger and volatile loss of temperament on a regular basis makes your spouse bitter and angry. So do not ever display anger towards your spouse just to vent your frustrations and disappointments. It only makes your marriage miserable and wretched. Angry outbursts are as explosive as an atom bomb, which can explode your marriage to dust. So instead of displaying your anger, display your love for your spouse. It makes your marriage satisfying and fulfilled. Did this video make you understand the massive negative impact of anger in your marriage? Marriage Realities will have many such relationship eye-openers. Subscribe to my channel to understand your marriage in a new light. Press the bell icon for updates about my latest relationship videos. Make love forever until death do us part your relationship goal.